Hello dear students, welcome to Devika's Commerce and Management Academy. So research methodology, somewhat you got a good understanding about what is research, okay. Now if you have an understanding, today third topic, that is research process, very important, 100% you can expect in the exam. Research process, this topic will give you total idea about research, how the research can be done, what is the process, step by step, everything you'll get a clarity about this research. That is why this is very much important, research process. Those who have done research like MPhil or PhD, they'll be able to explain. Without doing research, if you give this topic to explain, they just speak in vague, but practical knowledge, only the scholars who have done MPhil and PhD, only they will get the knowledge. They can explain it because they have done practically. So that is why research process is very much important and you must have an understanding what is research. Just focus seriously, but it is easy, not so tough. Now coming to the topic research process, there are different stages. All these stages we can show it a diagram like this. Number 1, 2, 3, like you have to show this arrow mark also. 5 are over. Now continuation of this 5, 6 and then again arrow mark. So everything should be in one line, in one table, systematically 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. How many points are there? 10 points. Till 10 points you have to write it like this, vertical. Then after that take each and every point and explain it like paragraph. Are you getting it? So this is the way you have to present it in the examination. If you open the textbook also, you will find the same thing. First you will find the table, then after that explanation of each and every point. Now let's focus this research process. Out of 10 points, the first important point of process is that formulating the research problem. Formulating research problem means nothing but identifying the research problem. What is the problem? How we have to identify it? There are two ways to identify the problem. One is that in natural way we just came to know that there is a problem or identified it and going towards. And another way is comparing with two variables. Okay, one company with another company, one bank with another bank. So in that way, so research can be done, but identifying the problem itself is a very big problem. Means proper identification, if you do it, then the research goes smoothly. Before identifying the problem, the researcher must verify that whatever problem identified, is it real, genuine, useful to the society, and is it going to give any kind of benefits to the expected person, maybe the management or government or society or anyone it can be. So is it useful? That he has to think it, question mark to himself only. Is it going to solve the problem? And another thing is that when he wants to do the research, ample research data is available or not. This is also another important thing. If data is not available, then if you select a wrong problem, then you will be hanging over that same problem for the years, maybe 7 years, 8 years, 10 years. You will find such kind of case. That is why you have to be very careful that ample data is available or not. And most of the time, the guide, research guide or supervisor, we say, the research guide or supervisor is identifying the problem and giving to the scholar. This is the problem, do on this basis, do your PhD, do your research. This is identifying by the researcher, I mean scholar, supervisor or guide, but this is wrong. Scholar has to identify the problem. Means I want to do research, I have to identify the problem. Let me take a small example of mine only. When I want to do PhD, my guide did not give me any problem. He did not give me. He said, you identify the problem. He also gave me a hint how to identify the problem. He advised me to go to the university, Usman University. And daily morning I used to go. Around 8:30 I used to start from my home, then reaching the Usman University, but having lunch box also. And morning around 10 o'clock to till 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock I used to do research to find out the problem. taking out lot of thesis and finding out each and every point, every topic, and while referring we get some idea. Suppose one problem is there, so to relate to this problem, can I go for another alternative? So like we get an idea. And afternoon I used to have lunch, once again coming back to the university library and again searching. 2 days I have done. After that I just found one problem, then with that not one problem, 4 problems I have identified and went to my supervisor or guide, then he selected one problem. So like the guide or the supervisor should not give the problem to the research fellow, okay, they have to identify. And in big organizations like either private company or government companies, the experts, they are identifying the problem and giving to the scholars that on this basis, on this problem you do the research, because they are experts, they knows what is the main problem facing by the organization, on that basis they wanted to do it. There are different ways. Anyway, for the research process, first process is that formulating the research problem, identifying the research problem. Once if you identify the research problem, the next step is that extensive literature review, extensive literature review. So this extensive literature review is that you are going to give some idea about what you are going to do. This is like a synopsis of your research. Say I have taken a research on working capital, say working capital or otherwise maybe employees satisfaction or wage system of employees, any one topic I have taken. On this extensive literature review I have to submit it to the committee members. So there I am going to present everything, what is my ambition, what are the aims of the research, and how I am going to proceed, how I am going to collect the data, how will be the data collection and research methodology, then research design, all these things in synopsis around 5 to 10 pages, assume it. In that way we have to present it to the report committee. Then after reviewing this, they are going to approve or may not going to approve based on your presentation, extensive review of literature that you have to study in depth, and in synopsis you have to present it. So this is going to give an idea about your research problem. Then after that, developing the hypothesis. Hypothesis development is very much important. This is going to make your research through a track. You cannot go out of the track. So that is going to combine, that is going to make you to stick to this process by hypothesis. How to develop hypothesis? Rather than developing many hypotheses, better to choose less hypothesis with good clarity. If you take much hypothesis, then it may not give you the proper results. So that is why you have to choose less hypothesis and good clarity. What is hypothesis? That is, we are going to discuss about the relevance of our research work. Research work is related to the research work, whether it is significant or not significant, and any other conclusions you wanted to give, then that you can do through hypothesis. Developing hypothesis, for this you need to have good knowledge and understanding about that research work, then only hypothesis is possible. Then next step it comes to preparing the research design. Preparing research design is very much important. Now how I am going to do the research? I have done already the research problem I have identified, then review of literature there, synopsis something I have prepared, then after that hypothesis also developed, then now research design. How I am going to do? Where can I collect the data? All these things, and from where I can collect the data, and how should I present the data? In fact, research design must be in such a way that with minimum cost, with less cost, the work should be completed effectively and without any delay. In that way you have to design this research. Designing is nothing but a proper planning of the research, how you are going to do the research. So that is, we can say it as a research design. Once if the research design is over, next process comes to Determining the sample design. Decided research design is like this. Now sample collection, how to do? Sample collection here, primary data, secondary data will have two. Primary data means without framing the question bank, we can collect the data from various sources like internet, we can go journal papers, we can proceed, and Google we can search, and the newspapers we can. So through this data we can present it. That is primary data. When it comes to secondary data, in secondary data it is mandatory to frame or construct a questionnaire. So in that questionnaire, what kind of questions you wanted to frame? Does it suits to the research, and does it going to be helpful while doing the research methodology? So all these things you have to consider, then you can go for this sampling. So when you are deciding about the sample design, questionnaire and all these things, few things you have to remember that. So when I wanted to take the data, so in which way, how I can collect the data? First thing is that by observation also I can collect the data. Apps by my observation, the things are going on like this, though that what I observed, so that I can include it. This is by observation. And also personal interview, taking the interview of people who are related, who are concerned with my research work. So I can take the interview, that is personal interview, or otherwise personally not possible, then telephone interview. Through a call you can just talk to them, take 5 minutes or 10 minutes of their time, and already we have prepared questionnaire or something. So related to that you ask questions and keep on ticking or noting it down. In that way, so telephone interview, through a telephone interview also you can collect the information, sample design. And in the same mailing, you can mail. To the mail also some people will respond. Through a mail you are sending a questionnaire, people will respond to it, they answer it, they'll get back, they'll be sending you back. In that way also you can get the sample. And there is also through a schedule. So direct schedules you have prepared, and according to that you can meet or you can design it. So all these ways are there to select the, collect the sample. So first of all, before collecting the sample, you must mention it very clearly that you must in fact you must decide how much should be the sample. Should I go for 50, 80? This is generally for project, and for thesis, PhD thesis like that, generally 800, 1500, so 2000 also people will go for sample collection, because accuracy they are expecting. So the thing should not go out of the control. So for that, sample design, sample collection will be more in PhD, like the research work. Project work generally below 100 or maximum 120 they generally take. So like this is about the determining the sample design. Once if the sample design and how we wanted to collect everything is over, the next step it comes to execution of the project. How do we execute the project? How do we proceed the project? So what is the procedure? Now how to start the project? Like there are different stages execution. So that execution also we have to plan it. For this execution, rather than preparing and struggling the research scholar, he can take the advice of the experts. He can take the advice of his guide or supervisor, and he can take the advice of other members also who are experts, who have done already research in the same particular area. So take their advice in any way, but always that execution, how to execute, when to do, how to do, where to consult, so when to finish, all these things we can call it as execution of the project. Here he can plan or he can take the advice of some experts. And after execution of the project, next it comes to analysis of data. Sample we have prepared, data collection we have done, execution of the process is completed, then analysis of data, it is very much important. Analysis of data, here the raw data is available. Data what they have collected or what we have collected is here raw data. The data is raw. This raw data we have to present it in such a way that it is easily understandable. In that way you have to present it. Here you can take the help of chi-square and ANOVA. Sorry, these things comes under testing hypothesis. Here it comes testing hypothesis testing, here it comes. Anyway, analysis of data, here we are going to decide how do we present it, like tables or using graphs and how to present it. So all these things will be seeing in this analysis of data. But when you are going for analysis data, please remember that this raw data should be simplified and presented in such a way that any layman can understand what you wanted to present it. In that way you have to simplify this raw data through proper data, okay, through diagrams, Y diagram, Venn diagram, tables, anything you can use it, right. So in that way, that is analysis of data. Next, after analysis data, it comes hypothesis testing. Hypothesis testing is going to be useful to the research work, that what you are doing is relevant or not. Your results, conclusions that you are going to get through this hypothesis test. There are different kinds of tests which are available for this research process. As I told you, chi-square, and F-test, T-test. These are the tests generally we use it for the analysis of data. So hypothesis testing, these tests are going to be helpful and it will give you a conclusion that what you have done correct or not, how much it is relevant. So all the information you can get it through this hypothesis testing. Once hypothesis is over, next one it comes generalization and interpretation. When it comes to generalization interpretation, that's the almost final stage of every research process. Everything is complete. Now compiling everything, and how do I present it? Here most of the time it comes findings. Findings, it means what you got it throughout your research work, what you found it, what are the major points you have observed, what do you want to highlight it. So those points we call it as a findings. So those findings, and here that interpretation of that findings, what you have done. Interpretation means explaining very clearly throughout your process work, project work or thesis work, what you have done, smartly and neatly, crystal clear language you have to use and present it. Here the expertization or the knowledge presentation of the scholar which can exhibit through this generalization and interpretation. Very important, this is the almost last stage of every research process. He need to spend much time and he has to take the advice of the research guide or supervisor, or he can take the advice of somebody also, but there should not be any kind of ambience, or there should not be any kind of problems and doubts, confusions, no. So very important stage. Then after that last stage it comes to preparation of the report of the thesis. Oh, everything is over, I got it, chapter wise I have prepared it, data I have analyzed it, and interpretation is also ready, findings I have prepared it. Now lastly report, how to prepare the report. Report preparation means final. So chapterization, each chapter wise he has to prepare it very carefully. Chapter 1, chapter 2, like what to be included and how to be presented, that is we can say it as a report. While preparing report, remember few points. First thing is that report can be divided into 3 parts. First one is that preliminary pages, means initial pages. Then after that the main text means research methodology, presentation of data, it comes the main text. Preliminary pages means introduction, research methodology, research sample collection, and how research design. So those things comes under the preliminary pages. Then the main text, as I told you, presentation of the data and how you are presenting and analysis of data. research tools, using the research tools like pie diagram, Venn diagram, or bar diagrams, like anything we are using it, or the presentation that comes main text. And last one is that the end matter. End matter means generally it comes to findings and suggestions. Finally, what do you want to say, what are your findings and what do you want to suggest it. So that comes under the end matter. 3 parts you have to remember. And at the same time remember that chapterization, how you are presenting. So introduction, summary of findings, main report and conclusion. So these 4 points if you remember also, it will be easy for your research process. First one what I said, introduction, initial pages only, and summary of the findings, what you found it, then main report and lastly conclusion. So in this way you can complete the research process. If you understand this topic, research methodology is nothing. Main whatever we do the research, everything is in this research process itself only. Take the screenshot or note down first. After this class, immediately what you have to do is see the diagram in your textbook, recommended textbook, and see the explanation also, what they have given. Table if you are able to remember, if you understand the explanation, exam hall, no doubt at all, your hand goes flawless, I am sure. So by the way, did you understand? Research methodology, and little bit concentration is required, nothing is tough, concentration and focus, that's it. So by the way, please do recommend our channel to the many students who are struggling to learn the subject, recommend them, and also do support our channel by subscribing, liking and also commenting. Every video I expect at least whatever may be the viewership, same likes I want, so that I feel happy that you are understanding it. If suppose say 10,000 viewership is there, 10,000 likes I want. Every student whenever they hear the lecture, yes, they have to like, so that like says that followed. That's it. Now anyway, practice well, study well. Throughout your semester you study, then before exams revise it. Follow this funda and stay connected. Have a bright career. Good luck.